Hello and welcome to Firearm Freedom. This is going to be another upgrades video. In today's upgrades video, we are once again taking a look at the PWS MK216 Mod 1. And before we get this video started, I just wanted to give a huge shout out to Gators Eyewear. To quickly explain my relationship with them, Gators does not pay me for any sort of like ad space or anything like that. I do these shout outs to Gators totally on my own because I think they are incredible sunglasses and I've been wearing them quite frequently recently, especially in these videos, and I am an affiliate with them. So if you want to support the channel, I'll throw a link down in the comment section and in the description, and you can check out some awesome eyewear. I was wearing the Starks in this video with the PWS. They're made in the United States, and Special Operations has been running them for a very long time. They're also aluminum. And if you want to buy those sunglasses and support the channel, there's also a discount code down there. So it'll get you sometimes like 30 or 40 bucks off of those sunglasses, and I seriously appreciate the support. The angry CQB gun is back once again to do some work. I am very excited about this PWS. We got some upgrades that we're going to be talking about here, and of course we will then go into how the rifle is performing after that nightmare of Turkish ammunition that once went through it a few weeks ago. Right when that happened, I threw a bunch of upgrades on, and I had every intention to bring this right back to the range the next weekend, and we were blessed with my first child, my son, and it made things go a little bit longer, but I am, of course, incredibly happy that that happened, and we are now here about a month later doing this video on the PWS, and I couldn't be more excited about it. The nice thing about the PWS series of rifles, no matter what rifle you're buying, they actually throw on really good furniture right out of the gate. So you have an awesome M-LOK rail system, and their M-LOK rail reminds me quite a bit like a Geisley rail. It is one of those that is not going to shift generally if you are dropping it or anything like that. You can pretty much guarantee that this is going to retain zero. You can see on the sides of the rail they beef it out just like Geisley does where it should be, and I love just how wide this rail is. It's not too wide like an HK MR556. That's just kind of oddly wide and circular, so it doesn't really look right. They got that perfect kind of crucifix look down from the front with this rail, and I think they knocked it out of the park. So no need to change anything up there in the front. They use one of my favorite AR grips, which is going to be the BCM grip. You can't go wrong with any of the BCM grips. This is the particular grip that has the beaver tail. Not the end of the world. A lot of the time I like the non-beaver tail grip. I can't remember if it's the Mod 0 or Mod 1 or whatever, but the non-beaver tail option is definitely what I usually prefer. However, I felt no need to switch out this grip at all. And I'm rocking, of course, some green Goon tape. Shout out to Goon Tape for always supplying me with solid grip tape for every one of my rifles that I always end up putting it over. But I also have that Goon Tape up in the front too. The green just kind of throws a little bit of contrast, makes it look kind of cool, and I dig it quite a bit. A lot of folks ask, like, what is Goon Tape? It's essentially hockey tape, you know, athletic tape with just some really cool marketing behind it and a cool company. When it comes to the stock, they do have on a tiny little BCM stock on here. Now, on their 5.56 guns, I don't think that's bad at all. The BCM stocks are most definitely not my favorite. I've seen some problems with them in the past, and they're just kind of annoying to get on and off the gun. That's just me. A lot of people love those, and I run them on a lot of different rifles in my collection, but my favorite, without a doubt, is the B5 Systems SOP Mod stock. This is phenomenal, and to be honest with you, I think it looks so much more proper on this rifle. The BCM stock, because it's an AR-10, looks kind of bizarrely tiny, especially when your rifle's just kind of leaning up. And this is fully from a looks perspective. I get it, a lot of people won't care. It is a fast stock, the BCM stock. This one's a little bit slower to do a ready up with, but I think it is a more secure stock. It's got a better wide recoil pad in the back, and this rifle really does not recoil much to begin with, but that extra pad back here is definitely nice to have, and the cheek weld is really, really nice. So I think the B5 SOP Mod stock stock is definitely the way to go. Of course, as always, I am running a Vickers Blue Force gear sling. I don't even know how many of these slings I have at this point. It is kind of a disgusting number, but it is my go-to. I have not found any sling that matches the reliability or feel of a Vickers Blue Force gear sling. They are incredible, and I do prefer the non-padded version of this sling. It just gives you more adjustment depending on the rifle that you're using. Now, as far as the sling and attaching it up at the front, luckily we had an M-LOK BCM piece, a QD socket, just like laying around in the shop in the gunsmithing area that a customer did not want. So I was able to take that, but I would like to see PWS just pop in 2 little QD sockets here in the rail. They even have their logo kind of in the rail itself, and it's like almost like a tease because it's a perfect spot to put a QD section. But I would love to see that QD section put in the rail. You could definitely lose one of the M-LOK slots for that, and that way you won't have to buy a QD slot like this. It just adds like 20 bucks, but it's definitely something that I would love to see in the rail moving forward. Now, of course, this BCM QD socket works incredibly well. No complaints there. It's a great little addition to this rifle, and it is nice that you can move it to whatever preference that you have. I typically run it very far in the rear of the rail towards the barrel nut. Once again, great upgrades from the factory. PWS is already throwing in a Radian Raptor charging handle. As I mentioned in the first impressions video with how much I had to mortar this gun because of the ammunition, I am thoroughly impressed with these Radian Raptor charging handles. It was crazy to see how much of an abuse the plastic tabs on this could take without even the slightest amount of a crack or stress fracture or anything like that. Still running my Midwest flip up iron sights. These iron sights are phenomenal. The rifle does not come with irons from the factory. The fire control group. This is one thing that's a little bit weird with this. So it's just a polished mil-spec trigger. It's very similar to a BCM trigger. It might even be one of the BCM polished mil-specs, but this one has a little bit of a weird feel to it. Sometimes before these mil-spec triggers get broken in fully, they can be a little sticky on that reset, a little bit sticky on the break, and it just kind of takes a little bit to break them in, and I'm definitely still feeling this trigger out. I might swap it out in the future to another polished mil-spec trigger that I have and just make sure there's no burrs on this one or something that's catching. There was a few times where I thought the hammer did not reset, and you'll notice that I'm shooting a string of fire and I go to get another round off and I like don't fully pull the trigger. I don't know exactly why that was happening to me. It was definitely a user error and not an error of the rifle itself, but it is something worth noting. And again, the fire control group, I mean, that's super easy to swap out with another one. I'm not too worried about it just yet, but I will keep you guys updated as we continue on down this review process with the 216. I'm running a BCM vert grip up here. Phenomenal choice. I have absolutely no complaints about these BCM vert grips, and I definitely am one of those guys that prefers a vertical grip over a grip stop in almost every single situation. For our white light, we're rocking the HRT AWLS. It's only fitting that on such an angry CQB gun, we have a 1700 lumen 90,000 Candela rifle light for just a blinding fire behind the literal wall of fire that's coming out of a 308 16-inch. So this rifle light has been phenomenal. Really enjoy it. Loving this toggle switch up here in the front. Works out well on this 216. And because this is a larger rifle to begin with, the AWLS actually meshes really nicely with the overall gun. It's a super high quality light and I'm loving it so far. So it just works out great on this rifle. And of course we are doing the tie-on 3-chamber brake to run the rifle exclusively with my tie-on full-size 7.62 Dragoon, which has been incredible on this rifle. I was still dumbfounded over the fact that I could shoot this rifle, a semi-automatic 16-inch 308 without hearing protection for a few mags and still was just fine without any major ringing. again, just insane to me. Now, I kind of jokingly call this my long sword when that can's on there, because it's about a 9-inch rifle can and a big overall rifle. So, you know, sometimes you just got to send it with the long sword and just kind of roll that way. And finally, we have on the EOTech 512. I love the 512. You know, I know it's not the most high speed, cool thing, but on certain rifles like this, especially on a larger rifle, it's incredible. I have absolutely no complaints about this. No issues whatsoever with the 512. It is a beast of an optic, and it's going to be a tank on whatever you put it on, and it is nice to have the AA battery swap out. So the 512 continues to be kind of my go-to EOTech for a lot of different videos that I do. Of course, we have to get into how the rifle performed with new ammunition. I went ahead and got some MagTech 50-round boxes. I've never had a problem with MagTech rifle or pistol ammunition before. It's always been phenomenal, and of course, in this case, it worked out just fine. On gas setting 1, the MagTech ammunition was actually kind of really nicely ejecting. It was pooping them out kind of around that 3-4 o'clock position, almost indicating once again that it's a little bit like low pressure. But as we've learned in the first impressions video, you never gauge pressure off just the ejection pattern. That really won't tell you too much. But on gas setting 1, I experienced 0 malfunctions of any type. And I should mention that on every single trigger pull of the day, I had 0 malfunctions. So that was a prime indicator that, of course, our first impressions video was just the ammunition that was giving this rifle a problem. This thing is an absolute tank, and if you're looking for a die-hard CQB or even a DMR pattern 308 AR-10, you could stop the video now, just buy this, call it a day, and you will have a phenomenal rifle. When it comes to running this suppressed, I started at gas setting 2 to see how we were going. It was definitely a little bit in the 1-2 o'clock position for ejection, so I backed it off to gas setting 3, and it was perfect. No problems at all. It was spitting them out, probably still the 3 o'clock position, which is fine, right about parallel with me. No complaints there. You will notice that the bolt gets a little bit more sluggish with the carrier group and the piston kind of moving a little bit slower with less gas, and that's just something to get used to with a piston-driven gun, especially a long-stroke gas piston, which this is. I do love how easy it is to adjust the freaking gas on this rifle. I can't tell you how many times where I've seen adjustable gas blocks, especially on DI guns. They're the biggest culprit because their rails do not facilitate easily adjusting it. Most of the time, you need a funky long Allen wrench and other things. This is so simple. I mean, it's like FAL simple. You pop the nose of the bullet in, crank it over a little bit, and you're on gas setting 1, 2, or 3. 1 being the most gas, 3 being the least amount of gas, and it's pretty simple to understand. If the rifle gets dirty, it's starting to slow down, crank it on to 2 or 1, and you're good to go. I found that for me, gas setting 3 was the easiest setting to run it on suppress for really nice recoil reduction, and still being reliable with the suppressor that I had on it for the range day. I am excited to get this back to the range, see how it does out to a distance with a little bit more accuracy with a 16-inch barrel, and just shoot this thing because it is a blast to shoot at the range. If you guys have any other questions about this rifle or anything else on the channel, please throw them down below in the comment section, and I absolutely will get back to you. While you're down there, head up to the description, check out those links to support the channel, and as always, stay tuned for more great videos coming soon.